Maybe it's just me, but when I think of a modern day super strat, I always end up thinking about this guitar, even if its modern day specs are over 30 years old. My name's Keelan Hughes, and this is the Ibanez JEM BSB. The year was 1986, and Steve Vai was playing in the David Lee Roth band. At this point, he had already gained somewhat of a guitar hero status, and up until then the guitars he'd been using were parts casters that were put together to suit his needs. But with Steve becoming a bigger name in the industry, it was time for a signature guitar. His specs would be straightforward by today's standards, but back then they were revolutionary. A 24 fret neck, a deep cutaway to allow access to those frets, a humbucker, single coil humbucker pickup layout with a 5-way switch, and most importantly, a recessed locking trem so he could pull up on the bar and make the notes go sharp. Steve predicted that these specs would be copied by other manufacturers, and he was right. By 1990, most manufacturers had used at least one aspect of the design, whether it was the recessed locking tremolo or the pickup layout. Steve decided to add one thing that no one would copy, a grip cut into the body so that he could throw the guitar around while playing. The monkey grip has become synonymous with the JEM and Vai, and no one has successfully copied it. Steve tendered out his signature guitar to multiple companies, including Jackson, Hamer, Tom Anderson, and Schecter, but he settled on Ibanez in 1986. The first production of the JEM, which was named after the luthier who put Steve's early parts casters together, was released to the public at NAMM in 1987, with the first colour being Loch Ness Green, which was followed by Desert Yellow and Shocking Pink. The JEM has been in production for over 32 years, and that makes it the longest running signature guitar in history. That is, of course, as long as you don't count the Les Paul as a signature guitar. The example I have here is a 1996 JEM 7 BSB. BSB standing for Burnt Stained Blue. This guitar is from a turning point in Vai's music. Around this time was the darkest and grungiest of Vai's music, so the guitar reflected that with an unfinished body stained in a dark blue, which was then blowtorched. It also features screw head inlays on the fretboard and a brushed chrome backing on a clear pickguard. Also, rather uncommonly for a JEM, it lacks the top 4 scalloped frets that are present on most other JEM models. The rest of the specs are pretty standard for a JEM. A maple neck with a rosewood fretboard and a basswood body. An Ibanez Edge Low Pro trem, and it also features Vai's signature pickup set, the DiMarzio Evolutions, which was only introduced 3 years prior to this guitar's release. So let's hear what it sounds like, but remember, tone demos on YouTube will never ever sound 100% like how the guitar really does. Although I do try my best to represent the gear accurately, the variables such as the player, pick, pedals, amp, cabinet, speakers, mic, interface, YouTube compression, and what you're listening to all this on play a big part. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So let's talk about the negatives for this guitar. Remember I said it was stained a dark blue? Well then, why is it green? These guitars were never given a top coat, so the finish rubbed off on the player. This happened especially on the back of the neck, and it was a major complaint from owners who ended up with blue hands after playing. Due to the lack of a hard finish on these guitars which could protect them, these guitars wear very easily. Every example I've seen has at least had some kind of edge wear. Even if they spent any time in the sunlight, the finish would fade. It's just a characteristic of these guitars, and it's something that you have to live with when playing one. The one I have here is actually a very clean example with minimal wear. Here's some pictures of some that weren't treated as kindly as mine was. Sound-wise, the guitar is a lot brighter than a lot of other guitars. Now that might be the pickups, or it might be that it's not got any lacquer on the body of the guitar. Either way, it's probably best suited to a lead guitar role, but then again, that's what it was designed for. The case is the original that came with it, and while it's partially held together with duct tape after the previous owner checked it as luggage on a plane, it did protect the guitar. That said, I am surprised that it did. The overall fit for the instrument is loose, and it lets the body and headstock move around a lot. I can only assume that this is so a standard case fits left-handed guitars as well, but it just seems like a dangerous way to cut costs that will result in damage. And while this case is 23 years old, rather worryingly, it seems like the current cases that Ibanez make have the exact same foam insert. The main thing I just can't get on with is the tremolo. I'm not a fan of locking trems in general, but this trem is designed in such a way that it makes me dislike it even more. The bar is a pop-in, as opposed to a screw-in like on a Floyd Rose, and that's fine, until it stops having any grip and starts swinging around while playing. Now I get that some players like that, but I really don't, and I'd like the option for it not to swing. To stop that, you need to replace the bearings on the bar, those little white pieces of plastic. And that does fix the problem, for about 20 minutes of playtime before they don't hold grip anymore. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. And again, this is a design that to my knowledge is still currently used on current Ibanez's. The JEM was a massive step forward in the electric guitar's history. It presented specifications that are now widely accepted and are standards in the guitar industry. As a guitar player growing up in the 21st century, it's hard for me to imagine that 24 frets weren't a standard thing. But they weren't. The JEM allowed a new type of music and a new type of playing to become more accessible, and that's really what makes the JEM such an important guitar. My overall impressions of this JEM is it does what it says on the tin. If you're someone who plays like Steve Vai, there is no reason for you not to love this guitar. But if you're someone who likes a lot of versatility out of one guitar, maybe it's not for you. While it's got multiple pickup options, to me they sounded very similar. Now bear in mind, this isn't your standard JEM, so I can't comment on how a gloss-coated one might sound. This review is just about the BSB. Honestly, at this point, it's more of a collector's instrument, as it's a piece of Ibanez and JEM history. It's a high-quality instrument, and it could absolutely be someone's main guitar. Just not mine. Thanks for watching. This is an independent review. I bought the guitar myself, and I'm giving my own honest opinions. If you'd like to see more honest reviews, consider subscribing and liking the video. It really helps the channel out. That's all from me. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.